I'm not a planner, so I would be curious as to what the recommendation would be, so that it's doesn't look like New York City, but there's enough density for a developer to think it would be economically feasible to do it. My thought was, as a matter of fact, my son's just looking at condominiums, and we're just up in the condominium complex in Middletown next to the Orange County Golf Club. I forget the name of that, at Fairview or something.
Yeah.
Fairways.
And I'm sort of curious to find out what their density is, because that's very tastefully done, and if we could have something like that within walking distance of town, I don't think it would be objectionable. I think it would enhance the quality of the village without overwhelming it with density. So I don't know if you're familiar with that area. If that's 5 units or 10 or 20, I'm not knowledgeable of that, but I'd like to explore that and see whether, if that would be conceived as tasteful, maybe we could find out what their density is and whether our topography would allow a building of that density.
Yeah, it's probably similar to some of the examples that we have provided. Is probably between 10 and 15 units per acre. What do we have? I mean, the up and down, the stack is usually a higher density, maybe 15 units per acre, and the side-by-side townhouses are typically lower because they're not, they're owning their own space, and then next door there's another one, so there's a little bit lower. We're like 8 to 10 units per acre. But, it can be designed tastefully. I think at that density seems reasonable.
Is there a way that you could, in the code, dictate that you would need to have a certain acreage to even permit that?
Yes.
In other words, if it's a half acre, who's going to want to see a couple of condominiums? Right. If you could put, even on the north side there, where the topography slopes off, if you could put 6 or 7 of those possibly together, then there might be a way to accomplish it over there. I'd hate to, limit their ability to do something that I'm proposing for my side of the street, but I can see the issue that topography would present there. But there might be a way to accomplish it with a certain amount of acreage. They could, a developer might put 2 or 3 of those properties together.
If we considered it with a certain amount of acreage, you could also control it not becoming a devastation on the other side of the street, for people looking to make money, no sin, but you would be looking for the empty. I mean, if you're considering something like this, I would want it to be that I like backing into something and saying, okay, here's the outline of what I would like to see permitted so that the scale remains appropriate. And if the board is considering something like that, then I think what they'd have to do is have the minimum lot size. But I mean, what do you do with something like that to prevent the hooking together of larger parcels in order that you end up with a 200-unit project over there? And that's what concerns me. I think that would be totally overwhelming to that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we could increase the minimum lot size. I think what we said was 2 acres, and just looking at the map, you only have the 3 parcels. You have more property separate parcels, more property than parcels, or more parcels than just the 1. But you only have the 3 parcels that are over the 2 acres right now. So, I think that's what my thinking was, that we can set a minimum lot size larger than what these 3 parcels. That's, I think, where the 2 acres came from. But we could certainly.
I would just jump in and say that, especially on those parcels, I'm not interested in confining anybody. I mean, I'm very familiar with that area, and certainly, especially Paul's parcel and Joe's parcel are larger than the other areas there. I don't know whether any of those parcels really on the north side lend themselves to that, but I'm not in favor of limiting anybody along the lines that we've all just talked about. As long as it's, again, tastefully done and within the confines of the kind of lot sizes that we're talking about and the kind of density. I mean, it's hard enough to market properties in this town right now without putting more restrictions on people.
Actually, maybe getting the opposite impression, is that what you would rather see is maybe not one big sprawl of buildings that all look alike, but maybe what Mel was saying there is that you would have maybe smaller projects that would be on 1 or 2 acres that would not look like they were all identical to each other, which gives some more texture
and I think viability, quite honestly. Which is why I really am in favor of the mixed-use structure. Now, if we go beyond that, if you're going beyond that to try to entertain something additional on the few larger parcels, and limitations could be put in that would prevent the hooking up of tremendous parcels, which I think would be wrong zoning. And the board wants to entertain that. I mean, I repeat that I think the mixed-use structure is the best way to go because it allows for all. And if you want to go for the consideration of limited to certain parcels where there could be, I would say probably the hooked together townhouses, whatever the right verbiage is, I don't know what the right name is, where they're hooked together rather than
stacked, side by side.
Side by side, thank you. That would fit the character of that community better.
Could you maybe limit the amount of townhouses that would be
permitted on?
Well, connected. I mean, so, if you see a big sprawling project where there are 60 units that are all glued together, I don't think that has the same appeal as you might have, pods with some greenery in between and things like that. So, I mean, I think that's where the planner has the ability to come up with something that the village would think is an asset, but still could be marketable, and put enough restrictions on so you don't have a detrimental to the whole community, but at the benefit of one of the property owners, but it actually adds to the community.
Yeah, the village has a restriction, I believe, on the number of units that can be contained in one building.
Yes, the village does. What I find happens, though, just as it happens with Carriage Park, what one is approved for at times that hardship is established, things get changed. So I would want absolute clarity on what it could be so that it cannot morph into something other than what we are considering. In fact, what I'm saying is if there is an embellishment of the mixed-use concept for the larger parcels, I think that's something that we willing to investigate.
When you report, Kristen, do you have this, or is this like a choice? What the section on page 2 on townhouses? Is that what we're looking to, which type we want to go, or is this a recommendation?
No, they're just some options. We really just, everything was pretty vague at the last meeting. Everyone wanted some more information, so we just put a number of different options available together. The image on page 2. The image on page 2.
Stacked townhouses.
Yeah, I mean the owner-occupied units would be the stacked townhouses, which is the picture on page 2,
right,
and the side-by-side units, which is the picture on the top of page 3.
Okay.
And that's what you're looking for us to make a decision on which way we want to go between those two?
We don't necessarily need to say absolutely one or the other.
Well, I'm sure one option
she prefers the side-by-side, but that's, but I mean, you don't necessarily have to say yes or no.
Well, do you have a sense, Kristen, of the board at this point as to where we are and what you could propose within what we've all just said?
I don't think we've said.
I think they did. Huh?
I don't think we've said one unifying thing tonight. He said, can you put something together based on what we've said here tonight? I don't think we've said one particular thing. But I know that my biggest concern was limiting commercial. I did not want to do that, and we're not going to be doing that. With regard to residential, I don't have very strong feelings. I think that what was in place, while not perfect, was working for the most part. I think Marcia makes some good points. And getting into this with all these different potential things, I would hate to drag this out for another 4, 5, 6 months, and I think the business owners deserve some answers as to what the zoning's gonna be, and to take away all the question marks that have been surrounding this since we first proposed it.
Right.
So I'm still open to ideas and input, and I'm not 100% feeling away, but right now I'd be okay